probably the longest intro I've ever made.
Sorry for that. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Jens, and as you've probably noticed, I've been to Madagascar for wildlife and macro photography. In this video I'm gonna show you my best and my worst images I took in the rainforest of Madagascar. I will show you which settings I used, which settings were pretty good and which did not. I used the time to test my new SONY A7R IV, which is filming right now, together with the 200 to 600mm telelens. Taking photos in the rainforest can be very challenging, because the rainforest is very dense. The lemurs sit up in the trees like 30, 40, sometimes 50 meters above you. It's actually just dark, so you need a lens with a large aperture number or a lot of luck. And in my case, I needed a lot of luck because this lens just offers an aperture of 6.3, so it was really challenging. And now we'll see which results I could get out of the camera together with this lens. Let's do it. After waiting 6 hours in Paris, we could finally get our flight to Antananarivo, which is the capital of Madagascar. When you're on the plane and you got 11 hours, you have a lot of time to experiment a little bit with your camera to get a picture like this, for example. Actually, I'm working on a video about the Milky Way and star photography. That video will probably be uploaded in 2 or 3 weeks. 2 days later, we finally arrived in Masoala, which is the most beautiful national park in Madagascar. Before you go there, you should know that there are 270 rain days a year. And even on a sunny day, it rained up to 7 times. When we arrived, I was pretty disappointed. Our guide told us that it wouldn't make any sense to go out because all the animals hide. So what did I do? I discovered some geckos and I tried to film that spider with an aperture of 1.4, which was pretty clever. And then finally the rain stopped. We grabbed our raincoats because the rain started again for like every 30 minutes for 5 minutes. And then we could finally start our tour into the primary rainforest. After 3 hours of fighting through the jungle, we finally discovered some lemur. Although the footage looks pretty horrible, I was really satisfied. We discovered a second lemur which also disappeared pretty quickly. On that day we walked like 5 hours and saw lemurs for like 5 seconds. But anyway, it was a pretty good start, and I promise the footage will become much better the next days. On our next hike we discovered those red ruffed lemurs again. The lemurs were like 40 meters above us. That's why I had to shoot at 600mm handheld most of the time. Although the stabilization of the camera and the lens did a pretty good job, I switched to 1080p 100 frames. Then I was able to slow the footage down and the shake did not look so horrible. This was a very rare situation because I was able to get so close and fill the frame completely with the lemur. What an incredible, beautiful animal. Oh, by the way, the temperature was about 30 degrees every day and the air humidity like 100%. Pretty tough hiking conditions. Most of the time the lighting conditions were pretty bad. It was cloudy and rainy, and even when the sun came out, it was not much like that because the forest was so dense. This one, for example, is an uncropped 61 megapixel image. When you remember the rule of thumb, which says that you need a shutter speed of at least your focal length, which is in my case 600mm, you can imagine that it's pretty hard to shoot at that low shutter speed. But even at that low shutter speeds, the ISO is crazy high, and if I would go even higher, my 61 megapixel image would look like 0 megapixels. Just crap, not usable image quality. That's why I chose long exposure times to reduce the ISO and get better image quality, even when I get a lot of blurred image, which I had to delete afterwards. Okay, now I want to show you one of my favorite images I took of the red ruffed lemur. Although I was shooting at 1/500th of a second, there's a little bit of motion blur when you take a closer look on the left hand. But nevertheless, I really like the expression, the colors, the composition. It was just the perfect moment to take this image. The next second, he's like, "Oh, what are you doing here?" And it got even better. I mean, what is going on here? Let's find out. I switched back to video mode and got this footage. By the way, most of the time I used a focusing spot in the middle, sometimes even manual mode. Because of all the leaves and branches in the way, the autofocus and especially the autofocus tracking did not really work that well. In the next video I tried to use lock-on autofocus flexible spot, but as you can see it did not really work very good. Now you have to fasten your seatbelt. Are you ready for the sounds those lemurs make? This is incredibly loud, so I had to turn down the volume a little bit for you. That was an incredible experience. When you hear that sound you think they're right above you, but sometimes they've been still a few kilometers away. I had never heard an animal making so loud noise before. That was just freaking incredible. Most of the time it was pretty challenging to get a good photo. White lemurs actually never come down, so they're sitting up in the trees 30-40 meters above you, and most of the time you're only able to catch their silhouette, but not really detail. So, how to fix it? The answer is pretty simple. I went out hiking for like 8 hours a day to get 3, sometimes 10 good images. But hey, that's the fun part about wildlife photography. And then this moment comes. You discover a lemur with a baby which is pretty curious. And they're coming down because they want to know, who is that guy who's holding such a big lens in their direction? And what did I do? I put my tele lens away, but just to exchange it with the 24mm prime lens. I switched to crop mode, so my 24mm actually became a 36mm, and I was finally able to shoot at ISO 100. Oh, by the way, this is the 200mm angle, and that's the 600. So when you think of doing a trip like this and you ask yourself, how many millimeters do I really need? I'd say 300mm not enough. In 2 weeks there were maybe like 3 situations where I was not filming at 600mm. Of course, when you're lucky and they get close, you can get great results using 200 or 300mm, but having the 600 makes it a little bit more comfortable. After getting more and more contact with our guide, we realized that this was really a very special trip. Although the national parks in the rainforest are protected, there are a lot of farmers who burn down the forest for agriculture. Well, Madagascar is one of the poorest countries in the world, so actually they don't really have a choice. But that's another story. Yeah, if you liked the video, maybe you should consider subscribing, because there's definitely coming a lot more content like this. If you have any questions about the lemur, about Madagascar, yeah, just feel free to leave a comment below. I will answer every comment, and yeah, have a good day and see you next week.